Is Timbuktu real?
Who knows? We'll Google it. Hi, this is Cristina Dam, and this is Liberate the Podcast, where we educate, motivate, inspire, and liberate your consciousness. From spirituality, holistic healing, to creativity and conscious business, we've got your mind, body, and spirit covered. Hi, everyone. Welcome. Today we have Lily Marks joining us, and it's going to be an exploration and a journey through her process of letting go and being a healing practitioner. And she's an Akashic Record practitioner, as well as she does Chinese energy work. She teaches meditations with us and does some Akashic Records with us, as well as on her own as well. And I'm really looking forward to learning about this whole journey of letting go.
Yeah. It's definitely, when we decided to do this interview, I was thinking about what's something of value besides just talking about what I do in my practice. And the commonality between everyone who I think is drawn to intuitive work, drawn to the Akashic Records, drawn to energy clearings, is that we're all sensitive, empathic humans in some way, whether we know it or not. And so there's always something to let go of.
Yeah. I think we can take it even larger scale, like even people that aren't called to do the work, and just, there's things for everybody to let go of. Right? Mm-hmm. We carry all of this baggage with us from the past, whether, when we're a child, or, some people get into the beliefs of past lives and different things along those lines. But, if you go through and you process daily life, there's attachments.
For sure. Whether it be exactly past lives or even patterns passed down through ancestral patterns, or the day-to-day of being in the world with other people and just picking up layers upon layers of energy.
Yeah. So let's stay back a little bit. When did your journey of being drawn to this type of work start?
Okay, so I was always a very sensitive and very intuitive child.
Okay.
I can remember as far back as the ages of like 5, 6, 7, just knowing things. And for me, when you're a kid and you're saying things about adults, like, well, this is going to happen, like knowing about divorces before they happened of people that were not my parents. I grew up feeling a little bit different and a little bit weird. And then as I got older, into high school and college, I began to believe that I was crazy, like mentally ill. I had anxiety and depression. And the journey kind of began there in looking for that missing piece to heal myself, to heal the trauma, to heal what I had dubbed as mental illness.
Yeah, because society doesn't support it. They say, if you hear voices or other information, or if you're picking up on things that aren't what we can physically see, touch, or experience in this physical 3D realm, then people say, that's not correct. Yeah. And then you hear that over and over again, that's not correct, or you're crazy, because people will throw that term out,
Yeah.
And that can be extremely scarring at kids and teenagers and young adults, is like being told that you're crazy, and then you start to think, well, maybe I am crazy because everybody else isn't feeling or expressing this. And I'm sure as a little kid, if you were saying some inappropriate things or like caveat things about people, like I was reading the Medical Medium's book, and he talked about like was it in his book? Oh yeah, he talked about how he knew somebody was going to have cancer, and then he talked about how somebody was going to get a divorce, and that they were, or not a divorce, that they were having an affair.
Yeah.
And that's not the lady that like you spend all your time with, or whatever he said in his book or whatever. But I mean, this is a little kid,
and he was, it was his grandmother. He knew that she was going to get lung cancer.
Yeah, no, but then later in the book, there's another thing where he picked up that this guy was having an affair, this person at the thing, that there was another.
Okay.
Anyways, but there's those two occurrences. But I mean, I'm just hearing your story, and that's making me think of that paragraph that I read in that book about, suddenly being like, oh, kind of be quiet.
Well, yeah, because sensitivity, at least when I was growing up, was not seen as an asset. I would be in restaurants with my family and say things like, I don't like the texture in here. But I think that I was picking up on energy and people and all of that stuff.
And so you're filtering through your model and saying, well, that must be the word to use is texture, but it's really
I don't like the texture.
Yeah, the feeling of the texture. Like, I don't like that this place feels crappy, but it's like not knowing, but you know that you don't want to be there, right? And then you end up in college and you start thinking that, hey, maybe I might be crazy. Right.
Well, and at the same time, I had gone through some pretty traumatic things. I had a sick family member and suffered some deaths. So it was normal that I should have been sad, but it also felt like I drastically felt like there was something to fix or heal. So I started to, follow a lot of different spiritual teachers. I got into yoga and meditation, and slowly but surely went down this journey of healing myself.
Yeah.
I got certified as a Kundalini yoga teacher, Kundalini yoga meditation teacher, and yoga and meditation teacher. Whew, that's not as much of a mouthful as I made it. And slowly but surely the pieces became uncovered, and I started to see healing practitioners, psychics, Reiki healers, all of that on my journey to heal myself. And every single one would say, you can do this. You're actually really sensitive. You're a healer. And this self-doubt was and disbelief every single time. I would say, no. I know I'm intuitive, but I can't do what you do. And slowly but surely the path unfolded, and I found myself in different certifications here and there. But I would show up to class and be really resistant or really scared. And the day that it finally clicked in one of my first certifications, we were doing it was like a psychic reading where we were blindfolded and someone was in front of us. And I didn't want to be wrong. The resistance and the part where I just wouldn't let go was I didn't want to start talking because I didn't want to get it wrong, because I wanted to be accurate. And the teacher said to me, just open your mouth and start talking. Trust everything that you're getting. And here I was, blindfolded, giving a pretty much perfectly accurate reading of someone in front of me.
Wow.
And that was what really set it off of, if I open my mouth,
to trust.
Yeah. If I just let go and I set down the worry that this is not going to be right and the fear of saying things that were accurate, being told, that I'm crazy. Because even during college, I had a friend who, she had an eating disorder, and she would go and make herself sick, and I was the only one who knew because I just knew. And every time it would happen, I would always sort of try to, and she would be like, no. And then everyone around me was, and I was like, I know this girl is sick. So it took letting go of worrying about past times, which was basically my whole entire life, where I would get in trouble for knowing things.
Yeah.
Worrying that it might not be perfect, and just saying, okay, in this moment, I'm going to be here, and I'm going to open my mouth, and I'm going to trust, and I'm going to start talking.
Yeah.
And that is when I would say I really stepped into, this is the beginning of my journey, and this is something that I trust I can do and that I have a gift in.
Wow. And what that's incredible. I didn't know your story. So, and the blindfold and the trust in that, because I think that, a lot of people have, we have that sixth sense, but we're so conditioned to doubt it. Right? Mm-hmm. And some people have that sixth sense a little bit more magnified than others, like yourself. But, that doubt, and that doubt isn't just even on the sixth sense. So on some level, you had to let go of your fears of being wrong, mm-hmm. right? We're going to get back into what you had to let go of as far as your healing, if you feel comfortable talking about it. But
of course.
So you're letting go of this, and that's such a liberating experience, because I think what holds most people back from being their true authentic self is worrying so much about what somebody's perceiving, right?
Yeah.
How are they thinking about what information I'm giving them, or how are they judging me as a person, or whatever the case, right, may be. So it's almost, in a sense, you took off all of the armored suits, and you said, here I am, and this is what I'm gonna get, and you can tell me I'm wrong or you can tell me I'm right, but it doesn't really matter. This is just what I'm giving you.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
That's really a perfect way to describe what it took, and it's that the courage to jump off a cliff, the courage to exactly take the armor down and step into that vulnerability, because one, I think that emotions, spiritual healing, energetic healing all happens in that place of surrender and allowing ourselves to process it.
But what a beautiful thing of that process of letting go, though. Like, I mean, that process of you even just doing that healed so much of you.
Yes.
100%. That's what my convoluted way of going in a long circle of saying, like, so many people can't be their self. And I mean, like, that act of doing and allowing and just being without worry, healed, helped you let go.
100%. And what I add on to that is, because I totally hear you, is it's exactly what it takes to do the spiritual work, because I feel like any process where you work with a healer or a reader, I know for myself, either seeing practitioners or working with my clients, it's this like co-creative experience, and it takes that willingness to say, I'm gonna be myself in this moment and face whatever comes up.
Yeah.
So when I did let go that first time, it wasn't that I wasn't scared. It wasn't that I didn't have even emotions come up. But what I did do was I allowed myself to be there such that I could then, in a safe space, get the confirmation from my classmate. Hey, everything you said is really accurate. What were you so scared of?
It's like diving into a pool and not being scared that you can't swim and figuring out how to swim, but you have to be pulled into that. So sometimes somebody needs to push you, right? And then you realize, oh, I can actually do this. And I'm fine. I'm not drowned in. And then you do it again and again. And then you start learning the backstroke and the, all the different types of swimming, because you put yourself in that and you start to trust, right?
Yes.
So let's go back a little bit to the letting go healing process that you had to go through as an individual, dealing with all of that stuff in the past. What were some of the things that you had to heal most about yourself?
Ooh, that's a really good question. What did I have to heal most about myself? Well, one
let go of.
One was the self-doubt. And I hesitate to say let go of, because it's not that I don't self-doubt. It's that I don't listen to the self-doubt. It's that it's a continual practice of, and I even heard Linda Howe, who teaches the Akashic Records and has a prayer that she created that I use, say, even after 30 years, I always wonder, am I going to do a reading and is anything going to happen? And so it's a continual practice of saying, okay, I choose to let go of the self-doubt and trust. So that's been a big one. Another one is self-worth and saying, I matter. I'm worthy of providing my services. I'm worthy of being paid for my services and speaking up about it. So that's been a big one for me in my life. And the word that's coming to me is vulnerability, but I guess in stepping into vulnerability, it's letting go of the walls and the protections. The courage to show up and dive in the water, like you said, and realize I'm okay. But what that takes is letting go of the security.
Yeah.
So through processing through this fear, when I jumped in, there was emotion and there was there was a lot of suppressed stuff, pain, limiting beliefs that when I let those walls down and jumped in the water were then there.
Yeah.
But like letting go of the worry about the past and the future, it's like there was this new moment where I got to face all of it and then create something new. Mm-hmm. But it took like this letting go of this image conversation of what are people going to think? Are they going to think I'm crazy that I'm saying that I'm like clearing things in the unseen and like talking to masters, teachers, and loved ones? And will I be accepted? And letting go of that.
Yeah. I mean, because, I mean, it's becoming more and more accepted in society. But, I mean, it's, you know, the things that we can't perceive with our physical senses, you know, oftentimes people are like, prove it, right? Mm-hmm. But it's like,
I can't until you let me in, you know. And I always say, this is a new one I've been using a lot, is that Akashic Records, but really any form of like looking into energy or connecting to guidance, it's like Wi-Fi. We can't see it, but we know it's there.
Yeah.
And it's our choice to type a question into Google or look for the information.
I like
and
this.
And if we want it, it's there, even though we can't see it.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden, like through thin air, I get a picture on my phone, you know, or I can communicate. Or the thing that still trips me out is how I hear somebody else's voice from across the world.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I mean, still, like, I mean, you guys might make fun of me, but, like, I like, my mind, when I go down those rabbit holes, and I'm like, it's like I'm high when not being high.
Like, how are you in this spot?
But I'm like, like the whole thing of, like, they're talking to something that's not connected to anything, and I'm hearing their voice, their cadence, their timbre, their everything, you know, I recognize that voice. And it just goes through invisible.
Through where? Through something.
Gets picked up somewhere and blasted down into your little freaking thing, and you hear somebody like it's clear as day.
Yeah.
Like, you guys are watching this podcast that you might be listening to, you know, and you're hearing my voice. You're hearing Lily's voice, but how? So, I mean, when you really think about it, I like that as a perspective of, like, there's so much that we don't understand, right? I mean, not unless somebody's an electrician. Most people don't understand how electricity works, yet they tap a light switch.
And we trust it, you know? We trust that if I dial your phone number, my iPhone is going to call your iPhone, whether I'm here and you're in, you know, across the pond in England or Timbuktu. Like, it's going to work.
Did you say Timbuktu?
Yeah, I did say Timbuktu. It felt like the most remote place I could think of.
You know, like, does Timbuktu even exist? Or is that just a saying?
I do not know.
Are you from the Midwest?
No, I'm from Los Angeles, actually.
Okay. Because I feel like that's like a Midwest saying, but I guess it's an everywhere saying. Oh, they're from Timbuktu, like, you know, meaning out in the boondocks somewhere.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
But replace it with whatever random Canadian place in the snow, whatever the most remote place is.
I get what you mean.
Yeah, exactly.
I just had to make fun of you. And then I was like,
I almost didn't say it because I had the same thought of, is Timbuktu real? Like,
who knows? We'll Google it on our phone and come up with the answer of, is this a real location? To be continued. No.
Yes. On our next podcast,
we find out and discover Timbuktu.
Yes.
You know. Okay, so then, you know, so the psychic class was one of the first ones that you did. And I mean, I'm just thinking about what a genius little experience and experiment of that, of saying, we're going to blindfold everybody. That teacher knew what they were doing, right? Because I think that it's a lot of people's fears and limitations of, like, you know, am I really doing this right? But if you're not seeing, you take away one of those senses, you can allow yourself just to be, right?
Yeah.
And then from there, so you started out with the Kundalini yoga and meditation. Then you went into these, what would you call that? Like a psychic 101 class, like a something?
They kind of covered a lot of different things, and I did a few certifications with these teachers because I trust them and like them, and that's where I started to learn the Chinese energy clearing as well.
Okay. Now, what is Chinese energy clearing? I'm not as familiar with that. I've studied a lot of different healing modalities, but
For sure. So some people refer to it as subconscious hacking. I like the Chinese energy healing label a little bit better, but essentially I'm clearing...
Subconscious hacking. See, I like that one.
You do?
Well, I'm a hypnotist, so...
So it makes sense. Yeah, it makes sense. Essentially, I'm clearing blockages in the subconscious.
Okay.
Like you for sure know, 95% of our reality is made up from our subconscious mind versus 5% of our conscious mind is really creating our experience. Mm-hmm. So the theory is that when we clear in the unconscious, it's easier to manifest what we want because there's less kind of gunk getting in the way.
Gotcha.
That could be past life experiences, ancestral patterns, limiting beliefs, experiences in this life or in past lives that are repetitive patterns. Mm-hmm. At this point
So what are you exactly doing? What's going on during the session?
Okay, so
you're diving into their mind and you're saying, clearing the skunk. Boom. But
yeah.
What kind of, how is that healing process? Is that...
So I'm going to explain sort of how it works by itself, but just a sidebar. In my sessions now, I call them integrative energy healing sessions.
Okay.
Because I might incorporate a little bit of theta healing, or I might incorporate healing in the Akashic Records, literally taking limiting beliefs out of the book of the Akashic Records and putting new ones in, as well as these clearings. And I'm usually doing it with the Akashic Records open, because I have found that the sweet spot is I can do a straight Akashic Records reading, and I do that all the time, but once we have the information, why not clear the stuff that's blocking us? So the Chinese energy healing, essentially what it looks like is we're sitting across from each other in a chair, and I always request that my clients don't cross their legs, and I'm clearing things from the central channel, the central line, and I'll muscle test, and sort of like, usually I know what's going on, but it's just to confirm physically, and I'll test for weaknesses. So, for instance, if someone's doing clearing around money, they test strong for making their own money, but there's a weakness in accepting money from others. Mm-hmm. So we will strengthen any weaknesses in the energetic field.
Are you reading me right now?
No, not at all. It wasn't. But maybe there's no coincidence that it came out of my mouth. That's another thing I've realized to let go of, because sometimes I'll say things with specific words, but I won't even realize, and the client will be like, wait a second, but that actually applied too. Yeah. So we test for weaknesses until the original thing that we were clearing for neutralizes, essentially. Gotcha. And it could be anything from the belief of like, I'm not worthy of blank, to I see a past life with a tiger and you were a child, and I just clear that. And sometimes I'll say them out loud. Sometimes I'll just start clearing. And it really is dependent on what's showing up in the space with the person in front of me. But ultimately, the whole point of all of it, just like we let go in order to be here now and face what's here, when this stuff is cleared, when we clear the unconscious blocks, the things we want to manifest can just find us because there's nothing in the way.
Gotcha.
So my whole motto, it's on my website, like my whole motto for my healing practice is clear the path and the things you want will find you.
I like that.
And the way that people talk about it after sessions with me is usually it feels like a weight has been lifted. They feel lighter. There's a weight lifted off their heart. And even like the way that they are, when they think about an issue that's been stressing them out, there's less of a charge on it.
So lighter, less charge, clearing, and how are people on clearing after they clear that path and the things that they want find them? What's some of the feedback that you've been given from clients, weeks, months later?
Let's see. I have had so many. Usually I always say you can get a lot done in one session, but energy healing happens in layers, and that it's like brushing your teeth or taking a shower. You don't just do, or going to the gym. Like, you don't just do it once.
Yeah, no, that's what I like to say to people. I'm like, let's say you're aligned, because people can get like chiropractic care, right?
Yeah.
You got in a car accident, or just like your posture sucks, whatever the case may be, and you're going and getting chiropractic adjustment. No one in their right mind would think one adjustment is going to make them have the perfect posture, right?
Yeah.
And even though like one adjustment is going to make them feel a heck of a lot better, it would be expected that you go for a few sessions.
Yeah. So that being said, I have had, after one session, I had a client who said, I think I'd really like to get back into screenwriting. And it was the next week she called me and said, I met this guy who works for the BBC, and we're collaborating on a script and pitching it. Like, so anything from like business to...
But even on like the longer levels,
the longer end.
Like if they work with you for a few sessions, like, I just want people to hear what could be possible for them when they get the gunk out of their way.
So anything from, I've worked in a string of appointments and helped clear patterns with men, limiting beliefs around relationships, and then manifest a new relationship. I have worked with people around their communication within their families, creating financial abundance, so many things, because a lot of my continuing clients aren't just working on one issue. A lot of times it's holistic, but the main areas are career and abundance, relationships, either working on a current relationship or calling in a new one. There has been, I don't know why I'm blanking.
There was somebody that works here
me,
that he always says it's hot pants or finance.
Yeah, exactly. Those are the really the hot button issues. Hot pants or finance. I'm going to use that. There's so much, but I would say honestly, it's that greater level of ease, such that one of my clients, she was planning a wedding, and it created the space for her to be really decisive and tapped into what she wanted. So
a lot of empowerment, a lot of clearing.
Yeah.
And as you continue to...
finance is, I'm sitting here going through, like, who's reviewed me, what have people said. But, like I had one person who had never broken through this one financial conversation, and then she did, and she tripled her income.
That's a nice thing.
Yeah, in the past, I wouldn't have, like, really, like, me, pre all this transformation and as you asked me on my path, in the past, I wouldn't have shared that. I'd have been like, no, but there are some really amazing results that are created with this work. Yeah. And it's uncanny, really, so.
Well, I mean, it's, you clear the blocks or clear the path, like you said, and the rest will find you, or what you want will find you. However you worded that was perfect.
Yeah.
And, we really do have the ability to manifest and create whatever reality we really want. It's just, what are we held on to or attached to that is preventing us from having that? And a lot of that is the unseen. I mean, our thoughts are unseen, right? And how we feel about things, our emotions are unseen, right? I mean, sometimes you can see an emotional reaction in somebody, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And so you've then also dived into some other stuff. So you studied theta healing.
A little bit of that, and healing within the Akashic Records. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've dabbled in almost everything, like pranic healing, energy, crystal. Like I've done a little bit of everything, but the main things that are really my niches and that I've really dived into are the Akashic Records and then the subconscious healing.
I like that.
Yeah, but the subconscious healing, I think there's always a little bit of the Akashic and the mixed in.
You mix it.
Have the tool bag, right?
I can never not do a little bit of energy work in somebody's hypnotherapy session.
Exactly.
Right?
If I see something, I'm gonna clear the chakra.
Yeah. You're there to serve, right? And you add different things in. I mean, I think that's the same way for like a chef that, I love to cook, and so like different flavors or different things, but if you have something and it can make it better, you might add that little ingredient in,
Yeah.
Amazing. Well, Lily, I know that our time is coming to an end, but I would love to know, first off, how people can find you.
Well, people can find me here at Liberate, as well as I have a website. It's lilyrosehealing.com, LILYROSE healing.com. I have a Yelp page under the same name, and all my contact info is on the website.
Yeah, and we'll put some links in there for you too.
Oh, amazing.
So, yeah.
And I have my personal Instagram, Lily Rose Marks, as well as Lily Rose Healing, which is underway. I've always been behind the technological curve, but I'm finding that it's connecting me to people around the world, so it's really important to...
It's interesting. I just had that conversation. I'm like, I'm still somebody that I don't have my own personal Instagram, but, I'm trying to learn the ones for the shop, but I'm like, it's irrelevant. But everybody's like, no, it's important.
It's so relevant. Unfortunately, I wish I could be 85 years old, and I can't.
All right. And then, of course, so on all of that, and you can always do remote sessions too. You can book through the shop, do some remote sessions there. We do, our meditations will soon be available to download, so look out for that as well. And what else would you like to leave people with?
Oh, that's such a good question. I love the thing about remote sessions because it's unseen. We really can do it from around the world.
But even like Skype and phone too,
exactly.
People like to do that stuff.
But that's what I'm saying, Skype and phone, because what we're working with is the unseen. It means I can give a session to someone in Timbuktu. And
if that's a real place.
If it's a real place. We still need to find out. What I would love to leave people with is, look, my general philosophy in life, and the more I do this work, the more I surrender to the magic and the synchronicity of the way that things unfold in life. Everyone has a birthright to happiness and joy. Everyone matters and has something to give. And my mission in doing this work is that I have been given the gift and the privilege of supporting people in uncovering that so that they can live their most creatively fulfilled and expressed lives. And so I just feel really honored to do that. And if anyone is listening to this, you matter and you're loved.
I love that. You are loved. I love you.
I love you. Thank you so much.
Thank you for joining. It was a pleasure.
Thank you so much, Cristina.
And let it go.
Yay!
If you enjoyed this conversation, like it, subscribe, and share it with your friends. If you want some more amazing resources on your path of liberation, head over to liberateyourself.com and sign up for our mailing list. Connect with us on Facebook, Instagram at Liberate Hollywood, all one word, or Liberate Emporium, all one word. Until next time, liberate yourself.